Thank you, Brian. I want to welcome everybody to the Anderson County Board of Commissioners meeting, regular meeting this Monday, 18th, 2020. Thank you all for coming, albeit virtual, and some are in the...
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Start now, Brian?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I want to welcome everybody to the Anderson County Board of Commissioners regular agenda meeting, Monday, May 18, 2020. We're meeting virtual. We have some commissioners in the room 312, Anderson County Commission room. Appreciate you being there. We only have one commissioner absent at this time. Everybody go ahead and check in to your presence on your voter iPad.
Commissioner White is here now.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner White. Might take him a minute to get booted up there. Brian, you working on Jameson, Isabel, and White?
We're working on White. He's booting up right now. He's just walked in, Tracy.
Can you manually make him present?
Yeah, actually, I can't. As a matter of fact.
Why don't you go ahead and manually make him present, as long as Commissioner White can hear us. By the time we get down to taking any action, I'm sure he'll be up and running to be able to speak and request to speak with his iPad. So it shows we're all present. If you can go ahead and remove the board, if you don't mind, all present. Next, we'll go to the prayer. I'll lead us in prayer, and then we'll go to the pledge led by Commissioner Meade. Heads, please. We'll go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we once again thank you for this opportunity to come together, meet, and deliberate on the county's business as we make judgments that are pleasing to you, Lord, and our constituents, and do things that can make us a better county. We pray for those that are sick. We thank you for the guidance you've given us during this COVID-19 pandemic, and we're very appreciative of all of our EMS, Sheriff's Department, first responders, EMA, and our commissioners, our own commissioners that have stepped up and helped in any way. Commissioner Isabel, Commissioner Denenberg. I know there's some I'm leaving out, but you know who you are, and we're very thankful to each one of you. We're thankful to our constituents, the Anderson County folks that have stepped up for each other during this time to make us safe, and whatever it may be, all big, all small, and the food you provided the school system, the food they provided the churches. Lord, we thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name, amen. Next, we'll go to the pledge. Commissioner Meade. Don't forget to unmute, Commissioner Meade.
All right, I had to hit that 3 times before I got back on the air. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. Hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Again, everyone, please mute yourself, and if you're still on mute when you go to speak, I'll try to catch it, or Brian, you can catch it. Brian, if you can go ahead and move that board. And Commissioner Meade's already got something he wants to say, I reckon. Commissioner Meade, you got something?
I just wanted to say, I'm not sure that people understand that you can be in a dead silent room, and if you don't mute yourself, it picks up the voice that's coming over your system. I don't know if anybody, I think some people think if they're in a dead silent room, they don't have to mute, but they do.
Thank you for sharing that, Commissioner Meade. You're absolutely correct. All right, next, commissioners would like to have Anderson County Health Director, the mayor was able to get a hold of Mr. Charles Turner, Anderson County Health Director, and he'd like to give a quick update. He's not on the agenda, but we'd like to have him speak. And Mayor, did you want to do an introduction or anything before we roll it over to Charles? We figured we'd let him go and then get on into the meeting.
No, sir. No introduction. Just turn it over to Charles.
Go ahead, Charles. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just want to take a moment to give you a quick update, and I hope I don't give you more information than you want, but I want to thank you for allowing me to share this evening. I want to thank Mayor Frank for all her support, and I want to thank you, the commissioners, for your support as well. So thank y'all. To give an overall update from a state perspective, we encourage everybody to visit the tn.gov/health website. And then you can go under the gold bar when you get to that website, and it's got all kind of information on COVID-19. Some of the updated information on that website, of course, they update the case count daily. They have recently updated long-term care testing initiatives, facts, answers, and questions. They have also updated what to expect after being tested, and also put that in Spanish as well. And they've also added the CDC's reopening decision tree. That would be something that would be very helpful for local businesses in their reopening. And while we're talking about that, I really want to thank the Anderson County Chamber. They have been doing a really good job of putting information out there on their website about COVID-19 and about the reopening of businesses in the community. Just to give you an update, Governor Bill Lee extended the state of emergency declaration from May 18th to June 30th, 2020. The Unified Command Group has focused its testing efforts in the month of May on the vulnerable populations in long-term care facilities, veterans homes, assisted living, and also state correctional facilities, as well as testing at the local health departments. They are also involved in engaging with local leaders in the metropolitan areas to strategize and make accessible testing events for vulnerable populations in low-income and high-density residential communities. And one of the things that they are also doing, and we are assisting with this, primarily serving as a resource to them, is testing in the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. They began testing there last week on Friday in Scott County. Emory Valley Center will begin testing this week. Our health department will have a nurse personnel there with them in the beginning, and we will be available to them throughout their testing process for questions or anything like that. We are also accepting the shipment of their testing supplies for that event, as well as the PPE. Some other ongoing Tennessee Department of Health activities, they continue to support us at the local health department level with our testing efforts and other COVID-19 activities. They continue to operate the information lines for public inquiries. They are sharing information via social media and also the Tennessee Department of Health website for COVID-19. We continue at the regional level and state level to investigate cases, doing trace contacting. Sorry about that. And also monitoring cases and contacts. They are also utilizing the healthcare resource tracking system to monitor personal protective equipment inventories and the strain on the healthcare system. They are also recruiting medical professionals through the Medical Reserve Corps program. And moving down to what you're probably really interested in, and that is some of the local updates. We conducted a surge event, mass drive-through testing at Rome State Community College in Oak Ridge, and we administered 974 tests during that event. And that was held on April 26th, Sunday, April 26th. And with that, I want to give a big thanks to Rome State Community College, to Anderson County EMA and Oak Ridge EMA, who provided us the drive-through tents for that event. Had we not had them, we would have probably had to have postponed that event because it rained off and on all day, and those tents really came in handy. And because of that, we were able to, again, administer 974 tests. So a big thank you to Steve Payne, Karen Uten, and the Oak Ridge EMA as well. We continue to do daily testing here at the health department. We started a drive-through testing on April 29th. We've got a big 20 by 40 tent in our parking lot, and people can come in, they register, and have their test administered under the tent, and that's in case of rain, which of course we had today and we've had before. We are conducting that drive-through testing Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and also 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We just received notification on past holidays. We have actually had testing events, but we are going to suspend all operations and all testing on Memorial Day to observe that holiday. Again, I want to give a big thank you to Anderson County EMA, to Steve Payne and Karen Uten. They are providing the health department that tent for the drive-through. And since starting the drive-through testing, we have averaged 63 tests a day, with our lowest being 37 on the day that we started, which was 4/29, and the highest of 91, which occurred on May 11th. But again, we're averaging about 63 tests a day. We have been working with central office to get information out to long-term care and assisted living facilities about their testing of their, not only their staff, but also their residents. And that's an ongoing process. Some have already conducted the testing and others are in the planning stages for that. As I stated earlier, we are working with Emory Valley and serving as a resource for their testing that begins this week. We are distributing free reusable cloth masks that have been provided by the Unified Command Group, and they are made by the Renfro Sock Company. They have, I think, a presence in either South Carolina or North Carolina, and also an operation in Cleveland, Tennessee. We have so far received 42 boxes of those gloves. We've given out 29 boxes, or 10,440 masks. We have approximately 13 boxes, or 4,680 masks remaining. We are giving those out daily here at the health department. We are also, they can drive up and we'll take them out to them. We are also handing them out when people come through the drive-through testing. We have distributed them to Hope House, Frank Callahan Housing, Care Day Housing, Oak Ridge Housing Authority, Charles Sievers Towers, Hoskins Drug Store, Clinton Pharmacy, all of the school systems to hand out with their lunch program, Norris Gardens, and also multiple churches throughout the community. And I would ask if any commissioner has any ideas on where we could take some of these, where have, either large numbers where they can hand them out to their population or to their group. We would be happy to get those out to them. But just to let people know, they can come to the health department Monday through Friday. They call the 425-8801 and someone will bring them a mask out. Looking at cases, As of 3 o'clock, the website was updated. Anderson County has a total of 37 cases. We have a total of 30 recovered cases. So we are actively monitoring 6 cases. And as you all know, and unfortunately have had 1 death. Let's see. If you look at in terms of distribution of cases, the 37716 has a 3.2 cases per 10,000 population. 37769 zip code has 7.6 cases per 10,000 population. And the 37830 has 7.6 per 10,000 population. And just the 37716 obviously is Clinton. The 37769 is Rocky Top, and the 37830 is Oak Ridge. So that's where your heaviest density of cases are. Let's see. Some important reminders. The Tennessee Pledge, it's a plan to help Tennesseans return to work in a safe environment, restore their livelihoods, and reboot the state's economy. That was developed by Governor Lee, the Unified Command Group, and the Tennessee Economic Recovery Group with input from health experts, state and local partners, and business and industry leaders. That information gives general guidelines, restaurant industry, retail industry, exercise facilities, etc. I think the last time I met with y'all, CDC was not recommending the general public wear face masks. They currently are. Recommending wearing cloth face coverings in public settings where social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. And would just remind everybody to stay away from people who are sick and stay home when you are sick. Wash your hands often with soap and water or for at least 20 seconds, or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. And that pretty much is what I have as far as an update and a report. And again, want to thank you for having me tonight.
Charles, thank you very much. We've got a couple of questions here. If you can just hang on. You got a minute?
Sure.
Okay. Commissioner Creasy, did you have a motion, sir, or a question?
No, I didn't hit a motion button. I don't know how that got activated.
No problem. Well, okay, I'll go to Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Yeager, don't forget to mute yourself when you're not talking. I cannot hear Commissioner Yeager. Brian, are you there? I'm going to move from Commissioner Yeager and go to Commissioner Scott. Yeager, hopefully I can come back to you. You'll be back in. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Charles, you were saying that there was a test that were run over at Roane State. You had about 900 tests. Being that I'm sure you were taking names and addresses, how many of those people actually came from outside of our county?
The majority of those individuals were from the Oak Ridge area and Clinton. To answer your specific question, I did not delve into the data that far. I looked at primarily the zip codes within the county, but the majority of those were from Oak Ridge. I do know we did have some from surrounding counties, but the majority of those were from Oak Ridge, and then followed by Clinton.
Okay, I was curious because there were signs posted on the outskirts of Oak Ridge. I think it was really to encourage many of the people that work over at the plant or the lab, et cetera. And I know that many of them don't live in the area specifically. With regards to the health department doing the testing Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 3 in the afternoon. Does that require a doctor's note, or do you have to have symptoms in order to be tested, or do you just make an appointment and come down and get your test done?
At this time, we are testing anyone who wants to be tested, and a doctor's note is not required.
What type of testing is that? Is it the, I hate to phrase it this way, but the stick that goes into your brain, or is it a swab?
They actually are both swabs, the nasal and also the oral, but currently we are primarily using the oral swabs.
Excellent. And do you know anything about what the status is regarding live bands? I know that Governor Lee had suggested that it be postponed until, an unknown date because of people congregating or it drawing crowds where, folks may not stay 6 feet apart.
On that, I would refer you to the governor's website, and under his name, you can pull up executive orders. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Executive Order 35. And if I'm remembering correctly, that was, I believe bans are included till the end of the month.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I appreciate you helping us out and being here tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner
You're
Scott.
welcome.
Commissioner Denenberg, I'm going to go to Yeager real quick. I think he's back up and running, and I'll come right back to you. Commissioner Yeager, are you there, sir?
Can you hear me this time?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I had my test last Tuesday, and it was a really easy process. I'm wondering there are so many news reports about false negatives. What test are we using, and what's the false negative percentage?
If I understood the question correctly, you're asking about false negatives.
Yes.
Okay. I think a lot of those tests, they can get false negatives, and the information that I have read is about 18 to maybe 20%.
All right, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charles, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I would like to know what is the position of the Anderson County Health Department as far as providing at least the addresses to our first responders of those people who have tested positive, so they're not going to be going in unaware.
Okay. I don't remember the exact date, but it's probably been a month or more. That issue was resolved with a memorandum of agreement that was provided to the 911 centers probably 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago, just a rough estimate. A memorandum of agreement was provided to the sheriffs across the state that they could sign and they could get the same information. My understanding of the way that the 911 system works is that information is provided to 911, and the only time that they can release that is if they are going on a call to that address. But that information has been provided.
Thank you. I appreciate you enumerating those entities that you have provided PPE to. But my question is, why hasn't the Anderson County Health Department worked with and or even communicated with others within Anderson County that have been doing the same things so there wouldn't be duplication and a better use of materials could have been had?
To answer part of your question, the decision for the masks that we are distributing was made by the Unified Command Group. That was not a local decision. We have just been asked to distribute that. And it's basically a cloth face mask for the general population. It's not a medical grade mask. It is just a cloth mask for the general population to wear when they're out in public.
I understand that, but were you not aware that there are so many groups and organizations that were doing exactly the same thing?
As far as I can't speak to what the Unified Command Group knew or were aware of, I can just tell you that they were provided by them and we were asked to distribute them.
But I'm asking you personally, were you not aware of what was going on within Anderson County in providing these types of materials? Excuse me.
The full extent, I'm going to have to answer, I probably did not. I know and was aware of some things that were being done by Commissioner Isabel and I think yourself in terms of providing PPE to some of the first responders and people throughout the community. And then based on our discussion, some other things that were in the works. But beyond that, was aware of an individual making masks for people, and I don't remember the name of that particular group or organization. To answer, did I know every entity that was doing this? Absolutely not.
Well, I would just ask in the future that you be a little more communicative with the rest of the community and working with those that are out there doing things. The other question, and then I'm going to hush, is are your employees required to wear masks while they're on duty and in the employ of the Anderson County Health Department?
To answer your question, is it required? No. Is it strongly suggested? Yes.
Well, I would suggest that, especially when they're out in the public, that rather in uniform and driving an Anderson County Health Department van, that they have a mask on and not just wearing it hanging around their neck. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. Oh, go, Charles, I'm sorry. Did you have something to say?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
I see Commissioner Meade has something. Commissioner Meade?
Yeah, I have a question about the testing that's being done. Is the testing we're doing now only the test that actually discovers an active virus? Or is this one that also or detects the antibodies so you can tell that somebody's had it and recovered?
The test that we are performing is a point-in-time test that actually is a diagnostic test for the COVID-19. We are not currently doing.
So if a person has had it 2 weeks ago and recovered, this would come out negative?
I don't know that I can fully answer your question, but I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, because it would seem that we really need to know is how big of the population has had this. So evidently, there's a lot of cases that have almost no symptoms, and people are not hospitalized. They're just told to go home. It would be good to know if, say, 20 or 30% of our population actually had the antibodies and not only could not catch it anymore, they probably can't pass it to anybody else either. So I'm concerned that there doesn't seem to be a lot of the testing for the antibodies, and that's really, I think, the most important test.
Okay. The information that I know on that is currently there are 8 tests that have been approved by the Federal Drug Administration. There are others out there that the Federal Drug Administration has allowed them to put them on the market, but they cannot tell them or tell people that they are FDA approved. My understanding on those also, they're still doing research on those, looking at the accuracy, if it's picking up another COVID virus that someone has had, or is it actually the COVID-19 virus? Currently, at the Anderson County Health Department, we are not using that, and that's at the directive of the Unified Command and also our Tennessee Department of Health.
Thank you, Charles. Commissioners, I'll just remind you, we asked Mr. Turner to come just give a quick overview. I didn't have him be prepared for all these questions. I just really was wanting an overview and kind of move on. But I see we have 2 more questions for Commissioner Creasy. I'll encourage any of you commissioners that have additional questions that you can certainly email or call Charles at any point, but I'm going to open it up to Creasy and Anderson and let them ask their questions. Go ahead, Commissioner Creasy.
Yeah, one quick question. I was reading today some military news where they've had some seamen to have a second infection. And I was just wondering if you received any reports from the state or the feds to patients becoming well and then becoming reinfected. Thank you.
I do not have a lot of information on that. I know that's something that is being investigated. And beyond that, I'd have to get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director Turner. I just wanted to say I'll take you up on that offer for the masks. I think we could probably distribute those at the post office in Norris Saturday if you have some extras. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I ask you to repeat that? I could barely hear you. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if you've got any extra masks, we can distribute those outside of the post office at Norris on Saturday.
Do you want to come by and pick those up? And how many would
Sure,
you
I can do
like?
that. Yeah.
If you will call us at, call me, the front office can work with you, or Phyllis Goodman, our office supervisor. If you'll give us a call at 425-8801, we can work with you on how many you need and work out a time that would be best for you to come by and pick them up. Or we can bring them to you if we need to.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Charles, we appreciate you again. Keep up the good work and be safe.
Thank you very much. Y'all the same, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, I'm going to quickly go over the 2020 scholarship recipients. These are recipients for each school district, Oak Ridge, Anderson County, and Clinton High School. These funds are raised, I guess, for the last 24 years. We've been doing this now. Chuck, you and Commissioner, let's see, Commissioner McCamey and probably Commissioner Creasy have been on there since that time, I would say, when you started it. So what happens is funds are donated out of each commissioner's check, and then these funds are distributed to each school. The individual recipient is produced back to us as selected by the school, so we don't choose ourselves. I want to make that very clear. So if you don't mind, I'll just read this first scholarship, and then I'll add each name. The first one is for, I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved, this 14th day of May 2020, the Anderson County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the 24th Annual County Commission Scholarship in the amount of $500 to Alexa Carroll. She is with Clinton High School. And then the next recipient from Oak Ridge High School. I'm going to read it too, if you commissioners don't mind. It's not very long. I don't want to shortchange anybody. Be it resolved this 18th day of May, 2020, the Anderson County Board of Commission hereby awards the 24th Annual County Commission Scholarship in the amount of $500 to Jose Contreras Padron, I believe, Oak Ridge High School. And then I think I missed one right here. Let me go back up. For Anderson County, be it resolved this 18th day of May, 2020, the Anderson County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the 24th Annual County Commission Scholarship in the amount of $500 to Taylor Davis, and that's Anderson County. So again, congratulations to Taylor Davis of Anderson County, Alexa Carroll of Clinton High, and Jose Contreras Padron of Oak Ridge High School. Now we'll move on to appearance of citizens. Brian, do we have any citizens that would like to speak on anything that's not on the agenda?
No, sir, I do not see anyone here.
Okay, if somebody comes in at some point, please let us know. We'll move on now to the approval and correction of the agenda. I know the mayor has an EMS resolution she'd like to add to the agenda. Something that she just didn't get to, and I think it'd be okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Meade to add the EMS resolution, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion on that? Not seeing any discussion. Let's go to the board and vote. We got to vote on everything on the board.
And that's for the regular agenda, right? Or consent?
Sorry, it's going to be for the regular agenda. I apologize. I've skipped right over the consent. I'll come back to that, Chuck. Thank you, though, for pointing that out. Commissioner White's the only one we're waiting on to vote to add.
One second, right there, got to assist Jerry.
No problem.
This will take a couple of minutes.
I would go into the consent agenda, but I can't because we have to vote by our iPad, guys and gals. While we're waiting on that, I noticed Dr. Tim Parrott was on. Dr. Parrott, do you have anything you'd like to share while we're getting this technical difficulty taken care of? I noticed you're not on the agenda, but I did see you're on the call. Love to hear from you if you have anything, sir.
Hey, thanks, Tracy. You know, just kind of a few updates. You know, the schools we're working on getting close to the end of the school. We've been taking up Chromebooks, making sure all the students have all the things they left in their school because, you know, they left kind of abruptly there the middle of March. And we're making sure they're doing all those things. We've been meeting weekly to make sure that all of the things we're doing are in accordance with our, you know, the CDC and the health department, things like that. We met this morning and again today and started talking about how to open up for the summer with the sporting events and summer school and things like that. I think we've tentatively set a date of June 1st to start looking at that. There's still some things we've got to work out. We want to make sure that first of all that our staff's safe and our students are safe. Graduation, we'll be sending out more information on graduation. As you know, CRCS and the Innovation Academy will be graduating on the 12th, and then Anderson County on the 19th and CHS on the 26th. And we are going to be sending out more information on that. We've got a lot of kudos from the, if that's a word, from the State Department on all the online learning we've done and the food delivery system we've done. And again, our students and our teachers and everybody's just done an amazing job. We are working on plans for next year. We've got a committee together, and I think you will be very, very appreciated of the county commission and of our school board, because without our one-to-one, a lot of the things we're planning would not be a reality. And just one other thing, as you know, we named Dan Jenkins the new principal of Clinton High School on last Friday, and I think Dan's going to do a great job. We're excited to see where he takes Clinton High School to the next level. So that's kind of it. We're working on a year-end report that we'll be sending out to commissioners. There's some amazing things on there where we've moved up in our ranking from the state and on our testing and things like that. So we'll be sending that stuff to y'all very soon. And I'll just take any questions.
Thank you, Tim. I tell you what, let us go ahead and finish this vote up, and I'm going to do all the agenda items, the consent agenda that I missed already. Thanks to Chuck Fritz for pointing that out, keep me in order. Then the regular agenda, and then when we get done with that, I'm going to open it up for questions for you, Dr. Parrott. Thank you for that. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, we got a 16 unanimous vote to move, or excuse me, add the EMS resolution. We'll add it under the mayor's report. I think she already has it on there. Maybe she doesn't. We'll just put it in under number 4, EMS resolution, and we'll add it under her report, let her present that. So now that vote is done. Let's go back to the consent agenda, if that's okay. We'll finish that off. And then any items on the consent agenda? We got a motion by Commissioner Meredith to approve as presented, sir?
Yes.
Seconded by Commissioner Fritz.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on the consent agenda as presented? Let's go to the board and vote. Yes is to take it as it is, approve as is. I'll get it out in a minute. Commissioner Meade and Commissioner White.
Some kind of a there we go. Some kind of a software thing shut mine down. I had to restart.
Okay. Just waiting on Commissioner White.
I think the thing was.
Hey, Brian, why don't you just, since Commissioner White's iPad's acting funny, why don't you just go ahead and he's sitting there so he can give you a voice command of yes or no, and maybe you could just log it for him.
Yes.
I figured you was a yes man. On this item anyway.
I'm gonna go ahead and tally without Jerry's vote, but we heard his verbal vote and Kim's
Okay.
remark.
All right, so it's unanimous with Commissioner White's verbal yes, we'll make it unanimous. Thank you. That's the consent agenda is approved, and then we'll go back to the regular agenda. Any other items to add? I know the finance director, interim Robbie Holbrook had something to add. I think we should probably put it in on the agenda. Thank you. Robbie, what was that again, sir?
Yes, sir. It was a budget amendment to, for the bond proceeds we received Friday for the ESG contract and the senior center bill. And we didn't have it in time to do it at the budget committee. I just need your all's approval.
Thank you. No problem. I appreciate you explaining. Commissioner Fritz making the motion to approve as presented, add to the agenda,
That's correct.
seconded by Commissioner Mead. Any questions on that item? Seeing none, let's go to the board and vote.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimous, again with one verbal yes from Commissioner White. And we'll add that under, I guess, the budget report by Robbie there. Don't let me forget that. Okay. Anything else on the regular agenda? Do I have a motion to approve with the amendment? Motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve with the amendment as presented, seconded by Commissioner Mead.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Mead. Any discussion? All in favor, say yes on the iPad and one verbal.
Yes.
I think we're running Brian ragged tonight.
Are we ready for the vote, Tracy?
Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Scott. And Commissioner White gave it a yes. Go ahead and 16, one verbal yes, motion passes. Now, Brian, if we all said all of our devices were broke, can we just give you a verbal, all of us? As a joke, man, as a joke. All right, anything else on the regular agenda? It's all passed, we're good to go. We're on to the committee reports. Next is going to be purchasing report by Catherine Ashmery. Catherine, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me? Okay, good. Thank goodness. All right. We have two contracts pending law director approval, submitting for your approval, either as individually or as a group. They are copier leases. It's pricing off the statewide contract.
Have a motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve, sir.
As a group.
And that's for the two copier leases.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jay.
Yes, Jay.
Both of those have been approved, one for the mayor's office and one for archives. Both of them have been approved.
Okay, yeah, I think we're just approving the process here, but thank you for bringing that up. Commissioner Smallridge seconded. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, let's go to the board and vote. Brian, we're ready to vote. All right, 16 yes. Motion passes. Go ahead, Catherine, next.
The next is a request to surplus capital assets, and these are vehicles from the sheriff's department. All of them are either wrecked or about 12 years old, submitting for your approval, either individually or as a group.
Now, is this a new motion or the last one? We haven't cleared the board yet. Okay, hang on a second.
Let's take it off clear.
Got a motion to approve, Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
seconded by Commissioner Waddell. Yes. Thank you, sir. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the board. Yes is to approve, no is to against. Motion passes 16-0 unanimous. Go ahead, Catherine.
All right, well, the next item is the review of the bids submitted for the surplus sale of 205 South Main. I think, as everybody know, purchasing voted to accept the high bid of $400,100. However, since that was voted upon, that bidder has withdrawn his bid. And so that leaves us with the other bid we received of $300,000 from Rusty Wallace. I don't know what the will of commission is.
Thank you, Catherine, for that update. We have a motion. I see Commissioner Isabel, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, my motion is to put this off another 30 days. We initially started talking about this. The mayor and I met with Rusty Wallace. We had some numbers so we could do a return on investment. When we sent this out for bid, I was hoping that they would give some type of business plan or about, what their estimated sales are. But this time, without that, it would be hard for me to go back, and that's why I voted no on purchasing on the 400,000. Is because how do you explain to your constituents that we're taking such a loss? And what my plan was is to say that because of their estimated sales, we're going to have a return on investment, so it'll be paid back a certain amount of time. So without that, we don't have any idea. It's more or less like a business plan submitted with a proposal. So that would be that's my motion, is to go back to Wallace and say, can you give us some estimated numbers so we can take that to the constituents and say, yes, we are taking 50% loss. But this house will be paid back.
So I believe, I think and you correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Isabel, I think you mentioned to delay or defer for 30 days. Buddy, please mute yourself if you can. We get a lot of feedback. Go ahead, Commissioner Isabel.
To defer for 30 days.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Commissioner Meredith, was you going to second that motion? I see you got a question too.
No, sir, I'm withdrawing the second because I think we need to let Rusty Wallace purchase it.
Okay, so could you, Brian, withdraw Commissioner Meredith's second on Commissioner Isabel's motion to defer for 30 days? And, or just clear the board and we can do it again. Let Commissioner Isabel poke it again.
Chairman, our pads are down.
Don't forget to mute yourself. There we go. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Isabel. Is there a second to Commissioner Isabel's motion? Commissioner Meade has seconded the motion for 30 days. If there's anyone listening to this program on Channel 5, please mute yourself for the TV one. We're getting feedback. Thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Isabel to defer for 30 days, 205 Main sale. Commissioner Meade, you're seconding that, correct? I think he's saying yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I couldn't see on my screen. We have a motion to second. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had several people approach me and ask what we were going to do because of there being two bids after it was announced that the first guy or the highest bidder had backed down. And I don't think it's right for us to agree to that second bid at this time. I think, in fact, that we should put this off for anywhere from 60 to 90 days and figure out another plan rather than just assuming that everyone's on board with taking even a lesser amount. There's a lot of taxpayers that aren't happy that we've shelled out the money and we're looking to take a lesser amount than what we even put out there to begin with.
I'll follow you, Commissioner Scott. I apologize. This was a deferral motion, so I don't think we're supposed to have any discussion. I think we just voted up or down. Is that right, Jay?
You are correct, sir.
Okay, so we have a deferral motion to defer for 30 days. Motion was made by Commissioner Isabel, seconded by Commissioner Mead. Commissioner Smallridge, I'm gonna let you speak because you had your mic or your position, and then we're gonna end the discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Smallridge.
Okay, I just want to say that, the past couple of years, we've had what, 2 bids and 1 auction for 205. It's been well advertised. I think Catherine could attest to that. And we've had 1 consistent bidder, local businessman, for $300,000. Second bidder last time, yeah, he had a higher bid, but he withdrew that after seeing what needed to be done to correct some of the issues with the building. Considering the process we've been through, the time frame, the effort that's been made, I mean, I have to question whether or not it's realistic to think that we're going to get a better bid. I hate to let it go at a loss, but I just don't see where we're going to do much better continuing this process.
Okay, well, I tell you what, let's take a vote on this motion. We can come back to further discussion, but right now, I see you've punched in, Commissioner McCamey. We need to vote this one up or down, and then we can come back to it if it fails. Is it okay with you, Commissioner McCamey?
Mr. Chairman, when you attach a time frame to a deferral motion, it becomes debatable.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, sir. Do you have something to say?
I was just going to agree with what Commissioner Smallridge just said, that we bid this 3 times, 1 time a live auction, 2 times sealed bid. I don't see 30 days making any difference. I don't see 60 or 90 days making any difference. I'm going to vote against it.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey, for your help. I appreciate it. Anyone else got anything before we vote? All right, this vote is going to be for deferring for 30 days, the 205 Main. Let's go to the board.
No.
Commissioner Jameson.
I'll have the voice vote because it's updating.
Yeah, several of these devices are updating at the moment, Tracy. Jameson's is the only one at the moment that can. I'll go ahead and do voice vote.
Okay. Thank All right, motion fails. 5 yes, 10 no's. We go back to the subject one more time, 205 Main. Clear the board, please. Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Meredith. Commissioner Meredith, go ahead, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote to allow Rusty Wallace to purchase 205 Main Street.
Have a motion to sell the property at 205 Main to Rusty Wallace, seconded by Commissioner Fritz, sir.
Correct.
Any discussion on the motion? I see no discussion. Let's go to the board and vote. Brian, could you, excuse me, Commissioner Creasy. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Creasy.
Yeah, the buttons are a little slow. I just can't vote to sell it for less than we sold. I keep saying that. 300,000, I think the property is worth more than 300,000 to Anderson County. I think rather than sell it for 300,000, I think we should keep it. Develop plans or listen to our citizens and see what they have to say. I believe before we pay less for it, I think we ought to run an ad in the paper or some kind of notice to our citizens and let them know that we're planning on selling it for less than what we paid. That's a big cut for the citizens to take. I think I've got to stand up for our citizens and their taxes that they paid into this county. They depend on us to make the best decisions with the money that we take from them. And I just cannot vote to sell it for 300,000, less than half of what we paid for. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. Anyone else before we go vote? Okay, Brian, clear the board. Again, this motion is to sell 205 Main to Rusty Wallace. Yes is for, no is against. Motion passes 10 yes, 6 no's. Property sold to Rusty Wallace. Okay, Catherine, anything else?
Yes, sorry. Yes, sir. We have in a new business, a request from the sheriff to donate radios and miscellaneous items to Scott County. These radios are obsolete for our county, but Scott County can still use them. I'm submitting the approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Meade, do you have a motion, sir, to go ahead?
Yeah, I just want to explain why I'm supporting this. I'm on the budget committee, so I've already seen, the purchasing committee, so I've already seen this. But our sheriff's department had a bunch of old radios that are on frequencies they don't even use anymore. And these can be used by another county sheriff's department. And this is just a good way to properly document the disposal of equipment that's valuable, but it's of no use to us. We're making sure it's going someplace where it can be used to help law enforcement in the state of Tennessee.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Seconded by Commissioner Fritz.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner Creasy.
Yeah, I just want to confirm my approval with Meade's words and the sheriff's action. I think that was a very good move and a good use of those. Those radios, some of those could bring a little bit of money in at a surplus sale, but many of those are actually, the regulations have changed and cannot be reused. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for the county and keep up a good relations with adjacent county.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. Commissioner Creasy, you could probably answer this question. I don't know if Sheriff's on or not, or these units probably couldn't even use the same frequency so if we wanted to donate them to the volunteer fire departments, they wouldn't even probably work in our frequency anyway. Is that probably a correct statement or no?
That's correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Val, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out, and the sheriff can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have donated some to the local fire departments, if my memory serves me correctly.
Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Val. I just wanted to ask in case anybody was thinking about it out there. I think it's a great gesture. Any other comments, discussions on this item? If not, let's clear the board, Brian. And yes is to allow the radios to go to Campbell County, and no is against. Motion passes 16 yes, 0 no's. Thank you, Sheriff Parker, for that. Catherine, anything else?
No, sir. That concludes purchasing committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Next is going to be the budget report by Robbie Holbrook, Finance Director. Go ahead, Robbie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Brian if he could give me presenter privileges. before I get started.
Yes, and when I transfer to Robbie, everybody will not be able to see the roll call screen, so just be patient while Robbie comes in.
Okay, I'll give it back to you right as soon as I'm done with a couple of these things. The first thing I want to talk about is, is the cash and fund balance report. Restricted funds are at 891,192. Committed funds are at 2,057,392. Assigned funds are 519,857, and unassigned fund balance is 3,487,311 for a total fund balance of 6.9 million. And our cash is at 11,973,749, which is down from last year. But keep in mind, we are actually tomorrow going to be making a transfer back to general fund from the 171 fund for the $950,000 that we loaned the 171 fund to pay the ESG contract. So cash then will be 12.9 million and unassigned fund balance will be 4.4 million, which is just slightly below the 4.5 million that we have set requiring for budget amendments. Any questions on the fund balance?
I can't see the questions, but I had something real quick, and then maybe Brian can bring the board back up.
Sure.
So you just answered my question. The 950 that's going to be coming back in from a 171 was money we loaned to that fund, and now we're going to get it paid back through the bond we're getting ready to do later. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We have the money in the bank. It was wired Friday, and we'll be making that entry tomorrow, and that cash will be back in general fund tomorrow.
All right. So in 18-19, our cash trend was 13,548,000. And you said this with the addition of the 950 is going to be, what'd you say, 12 what?
12,924,604.
So about $500,000 or so off. Is there anything else that can contribute to why we're about $500,000 off?
Well, I've noticed too in our budget this year, budget amendments, we've done $5 million in the general fund and increasing the general fund budget by $5 million in budget transfers. And most of that's from restricted funds, or a lot of it is. And that reduces our cash also, because at the beginning of the year, our total fund balance was closer to 12 million, and now it's at 7 million, right around 7 million. So that explains a lot of the cash, in my opinion.
Thank you, Robbie. Brian, can you open the board back? Is it too much trouble so I can see who wants to talk? I don't know if anybody's got any questions. I can't see.
Yes, sir, one moment.
If anybody has any questions, speak up. I'll just be quiet real quick. Okay, we'll just move on. Just put it back up there. And if anyone has any questions during Robbie's presentation, you don't need a motion for this. This is just information.
It's just information, right? Okay. We have the cash and fund balance report, and I reported on this last meeting because we already had Marches in. We haven't received April's yet. It should come in Wednesday, but the mayor's already sent an email stating that the general fund sales tax is again high this month at $316,807. But for the month of March, we were at 2.7 million total. General fund was 323,620, which is 33% up from last March. And April looks like it's going to be another good month for Anderson County. We haven't seen what the rest of the county's done as far as Clinton, Rocky Top. We should know that Wednesday, but sales tax is still looking good, which is really good for us.
Hey, can you throw that slide back up? I'd like to see that.
Yeah, if Ryan can give me permission again.
One moment.
All right, can you see it now?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, that just shows our sales tax collections for the month of March, 2.7 million. And the Anderson County, the first column there at 323,620. And the orange bar is the is this year's or sales tax collections from 2020, January, February, March.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions for Robbie on this? Go ahead, Robbie, go ahead.
Okay, next up is the EMS report. And EMS has collected 87.56 of the revenue at $5,049,708, and they spent 79.8% of their expenditures. So we only have 2 more months to go, and they're still projecting to finish the year really good. So that's it. Next time we'll move up to the budget amendments. Which I got to figure out how to. All right. I think I can move down right here. There you go.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question for Robbie.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Robbie, can you remind the folks at home what it takes to bring our taxes down by a penny? How much money?
It's around 162 to 164,000.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, Robbie.
Okay. Moving on to the budget amendments. I don't think I have this screen, Tracy, where the,
It's all right. We got it in our packet. If not, they can, commissioners can get it on their iPad. You know, but go ahead. I got it in front of me.
okay, because y'all are going to be voting anyway.
Yep.
Group 2 appropriations from the school. There were 3 of them on page 10.
Robbie, I don't mean to interrupt. I see something from Commissioner Isabel. Commissioner Isabel, do you have a question, sir, or comment?
Really, it's just a statement, but I'll wait to the end of his report, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. Thank you. Go ahead, Robbie.
Okay, Group 2 appropriations from the school department. Page 10 in the minutes, numbers 20, 21, and 22. Look, seeking approval as a group or individual.
Commissioner Fritz, sir.
Move to approve as a group.
Got a motion to approve as a group, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Let's go to the board and vote. This is Group 2, Fund 141, 143, and 141, Technology, School Nutrition, and Business Office. Motion passes unanimous, 16-0. Thank you. Continue on, Robbie.
Group 3 of transfers from the school, there's just one from student services for $3,739. Seeking approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smallridge to approve, seconded by Commissioner Fritz. Is that correct, Commissioner Smallridge? Second by Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion on that motion to approve? Fund 141, Student Services. Let's go to the board. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Group 4 is appropriations non-school. Seeking approval as a group or individually. We can pull any out that you all want to discuss.
Commissioner Scott, you have a motion?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve all as a group?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Fritz.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Jameson. I see you have a question, sir.
I'll carry on.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, let's go to the board and vote. This is for Group 4, non-school. Motion passes unanimous, 16-0.
Alrighty, group 5 is transfers non-school. There are 4 of them, seeking approval as a group or individually.
Motion by Commissioner Scott to approve as a group. Is that correct?
That is not correct. It's to
I
go,
apologize. By add.
Not a problem.
Commissioner Scott.
to go individually, please.
Okay. On the group 5 transfers, number 32 is a transfer from Sheriff Barker and Tyler Mays in the increasing overtime 187 by 14,000 and decreasing jail wages by $14,000.
Are you wanting to make a motion to approve that, Commissioner Scott, or do you need to be removed?
No, I'm fine to approve that.
Okay, so Commissioner Scott moves to approve that item, Fund 101 Sheriff's Department payroll, 14,000, seconded by Commissioner Fritz.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? Commissioner Denberg.
Is Tyler on the call or on the meeting where he could give us an explanation?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the overtime, really the need started back in the spring, well, not the spring, sorry, in the fall and before Christmas when we were still trying to staff the jail. Our numbers were still high. We hadn't opened Unit 1 yet or hired Unit 1 personnel. Those overtime numbers are starting to flatten out, but we are over budget, and the 14,000 takes into account to get us back whole and to finish out the rest of the year. And we will be turning in a significant amount of money in that payroll code due to Unit 1 not opening when the budget was open. So that's where I thought would be the appropriate place to take it from.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Commissioner Denberg. Any other discussion? Let's go to the board and vote. Motion passes 16-0. Go ahead, Robbie. Next item.
Okay, number 34 is a transfer for payroll from the Veterans Office, increasing code 103, $4,000 and decreasing code 169, $4,000.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Robbie. I apologize.
It's just a transfer of salary funds due to change in part-time assistant to the full-time assistant.
Thank you for the explanation. Commissioner Fritz with the motion to approve. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Scott, second.
Yes, sir.
Discussion? Thank you. Any discussion on that item? Let's go to the board. Motion passes 16-0. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
All right, number 35 is a transfer payroll from the Election Commission. Mark Stevens, increasing part-time code 169, $8,600, and increasing Social Security $1,000, life insurance $150, and Medicare $250, and decreasing election workers, poll workers code $10,000. It's a transfer necessary to reconcile deficiencies, fund code balances, and fund future part-time expenditures.
Thank you. Have a motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve as presented. Seconded by, thank you, Commissioner Fritz, seconded by Commissioner Meredith. Commissioner Scott, you have a question?
Yes, sir. During budget, I had asked Mark to elaborate on this. And at first he said that he has a couple of part-time workers because there is a full-time employee that is currently off. He said he didn't know how long she was going to be out. She had been out since August of last year through December, came back, and then left again. Later during the conversation, he said that this person was working at home right now. I have a real problem with this. There's funds in that department that have been moved around from time to time because of not having enough staff and then being comfortable with, the right amount of staff, et cetera. We've been told where employees have received bonuses and they've been more than sufficiently staffed at the polls. He said that he was afraid that during the next election period here that he may not have enough people for the polls because of the COVID virus. Everything kept changing throughout the whole discussion. He was talking about a grant that he had received for $66,000 for the election. He got that back in March, et cetera, et cetera. As a result, I can't agree with this because the proof for the request just didn't line up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Fritz?
I, for one, can attest to what Mark was saying is that he said, even though he has a person working at home, there's a lot of work that's done in the office and in the field that the person working at home cannot do. That's the reason he needs the extra people that can do with the office work and the work in the field to do the things he needs to get done. I'm working at home, and they're right now because I'm banned from the going into the plant because I'm considered high risk. And so there are things I cannot do at the plant, and they're having other people to do the work I can't do at the plant to do my work there. So, I mean, even though I'm doing work on the computer at home, they're having to get other people to do my job at the on site. And so that's what he's having to do right now is to do the work in the field and in the office and stuff. And the money that he is allocating and spreading around is the money from this grant, he says. So this is not taxpayers' dollars. He's just using the money that he has to use for this grant for the elections. And so by me personally being involved in this on my side and knowing how it's affecting me, I see how it's also affecting him and his office.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Meade?
Yeah, I want to make sure people realize this is not a request for new money. This is just allowing a county manager to move money around inside his own budget. I see absolutely no valid reason to not allow him to do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Commissioner Waddell?
Yeah, during the budget procedure, Commissioner Scott asked him a question, and he spoke to having someone out and not being present. My question was, I was thinking he was paying that person sick time, and that's why he was needing the part-time people for work, but that turned out not to be true. He said that the full-time person was still getting paid and working from home, but he still needed the part-time work. I vote no because I don't know. I just didn't get a clear answer on it. He wasn't clear on what the purpose of this was. He gave one response at first and then another response when I asked. So I'm a no until it's cleared up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Waddell. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's go to the board. Motion passes 11 yes, 5 no's. Okay, Robbie, next.
Let me unmute there. Number 36 is a transfer payroll from animal care and control. They're increasing their part-time code $5,500 and decreasing other salaries and wages $5,500. They have an increased need for part-time help with full-time employees out on medical leave is the explanation.
Thank you, sir. Have a motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner McCamey, second.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. Any discussion on the motion? This is for come out of Fund 101, Animal Control.
Yes, sir.
Okay, seeing none.
5120-169 is increasing and 189 is decreasing.
Okay. Seeing no other comments, let's go to the board. Motion passes 16 yes, 0 no's. Motion passes. Group 6.
All right. Group 6 is an appropriations from general fund unassigned fund balance. There are two, 38 and 39, for a total of $2,575. Both are from the mayor. Seeking approval.
Are these new motions here? I didn't. Chris, did you just make a motion on that?
I think these are new.
I did.
Oh, I apologize. I see. Okay. It's Commissioner Scott with the motion to approve.
Yes, sir.
Second by Commissioner Fritz.
Yes.
Any discussions on that item? Let's go to the board. Motion passes 16 yes, 0 no's. Okay, Rob.
All right. Group 7 miscellaneous, it's section A. It was the budget committee and the proposed budgets. Fund 141 was presented by Dr. Parrott. A motion by Commissioner Rick Meredith to approve and seconded by Commissioner Catherine Denenberg. Motion passed unanimously by roll call vote. Fund 143, Central Cafeteria, was presented by Dr. Parrott also. The motion was made by Rick Meredith to approve, seconded by Commissioner Chuck Fritz. It also passed unanimously. Fund 118, we took it back to Budget Committee, and a motion was made by Commissioner Shane Val to approve budget proposal option number 2 without the requested $65,925 transfer in from general fund, seconded by Commissioner Waddell. Then a motion was made by Commissioner Chuck Fritz to amend previous motion to add the assistant director position from option 1 and revisit other components of option 1 in November 2021. Motion passed 5-3 by roll call vote. Voting no was Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Waddell, and Commissioner Val. Motion as amended passed 5-3 by roll call vote with the same 3 voting no. Proposed budgets of other funds, Fund 151, 152, 156, 171 capital projects, 177 education capital projects, and the Fund 263 self-insurance fund, all were approved. Commissioner Meredith and seconded by Chuck Fritz, and the motion passed unanimously. Interim Finance Director Robbie Hobart requested a motion to approve moving Department 58,300 Veteran Service part-time employees to full-time status and adding 1,156 to the budget for employee benefits. The motion was made by Teresa Scott and seconded by Commissioner Waddell. The motion passed unanimously. And last, Interim Finance Director Robbie Hobart requested a motion authorizing the Finance Director to identify and correct any errors in the budget, provided they do not result in any significant increases. The motion was made by Commissioner Meredith and seconded by Commissioner Waddell. And there was no new business or old business, so the meeting was adjourned. I do have one more thing. Group 7 and miscellaneous, no, Group 8, I'm sorry, additional items not discussed. It's the budget amendment, the new budget amendment for the bond. We're increasing ESG 6 bonds issued 6,900,000. I can pull this one up if you like.
I think, yeah, that if you can. This is what we added to the agenda tonight, right?
Brian, will you give me permission one more time, please?
Motion by Commissioner McCamey to approve. Seconded by Commissioner Fritz. I'll let him put it on the board, and if there's any discussion. Has all the commissioners seen this already and looked at it?
It's this one right here.
Yeah. Can you scroll it up or down?
Yes. That's the full budget amendment right there.
And this is for work we previously approved through the commission for the ESG work on the buildings and the retrofits and the savings we're supposed to gather. And then also some senior center building stuff there, as you can see.
That is correct.
Okay. I can't, does anybody go ahead and pull it down, get back to the board and see if anybody's got any questions?
Okay, Brian, can you help me out there?
I think Brian's going to put a request in soon for additional help.
I believe you're right.
We'll get him to roller skate.
All right, there we go.
There's a question. Commissioner Meade, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm confused about what we did with Group 7. Was that just a report on all those fund,
Yes, it was.
all the budget things? And that's going to be voted on at another time?
That will be voted on next month, sir, in the commission meeting. The plan is June 4th, which is next budget meeting. We'll have the public hearing. And then the commission meeting, hopefully, well, not hopefully, but all the budgets will be presented to full commission. I'll be emailing all those out to you, all of y'all this week for you to take a look at before the next meeting.
Thank you so much. Just want to get clarification.
No
No
problem.
problem. Yep, they're proposed budgets, and then they'll come back to us for a vote and all that kind of good stuff. Good question, though. Any questions on the motion on the floor for this? What is it called again, Robbie?
It's for our bond issue, or it's for bond proceeds.
It's a
It's
amendment.
the bond, the money we got from the bond that we got wired to us Friday
Okay.
in revenue and expenditures.
Any questions on this before we go to the board? Let's go to the board. See no questions. Motion passes 14 yes, 2 no's. All right, Robbie.
That's all I have, and you may have any questions for me.
Any questions for Robbie? Commissioner Isabel, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things I want to point out is that our sales tax is continuing to climb over last year. And that would show that it's that internet sales tax. And we're very fortunate because we're not like some of our neighboring counties, like Knox County and Sevier County, depending so much on retail sales tax to survive. There you'll probably see a significant property tax increase next year, and you're seeing where they're having to furlough people, lay people off. But we've been really blessed and lucky here in Anderson County.
I agree 100%.
Thank you, Commissioner Isabel. Good comments. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robbie, just for people that might be listening at home and just for the public, what will be the next steps now that we have accepted Rusty Wallace's bid? Once we close and get that money, what will that go to the finance committee and be applied towards the bond we took out, or how will that $300,000 be out?
That $300,000 will be paid on the old bond that exists currently for the 205 Main. That will have, all of that will go towards it.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Any other questions for Mr. Holbrook? Robbie, great job. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Tracy. Y'all have a good evening.
Commissioner McCamey's got something. I apologize.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Robbie, are we required to pay that 300,000 on the note?
From my conversations with Scott Gibson and Cumberland Securities, yes, we are.
Well, I talked with Scott, and he said as long as we purchased a like building, that we wouldn't have to pay that on that note.
That wasn't my understanding, Commissioner McCamey. The mayor may have a different understanding, but I asked him that question recently too, because honestly, with a bid of 400,000, we thought we would for sure sell. But she may have a different view than I did, but that's what he told me and Mr. Walters in my department.
Okay, well, I've got an email from him that says as long as we purchase a like property, which we have, that money we receive would not have to go back to pay off that loan.
Okay, well, I'll definitely check on it tomorrow for you and let you, I'll let everybody know that answer to that question, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Val and Commissioner Scott, I'm gonna let the mayor jump in on that question, and then I'm gonna come back to you, Commissioner Val, and you, Commissioner Scott. Go ahead, Mayor.
I had a conversation myself with Scott Gibson as well, and he advised me the same thing that he advised Robbie and Randy, so that we would have to apply that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. Commissioner Val.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This may be a new point now, but I was getting ready to, being on the winning side of that vote, getting ready to request that be brought back up again if that money was not spent on that loan. So based on what the mayor just reported, I'll calm down now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we don't want to get Elvis all upset. That's the wrong thing to do. Into a bowl game and seen that happen. All right, Commissioner Scott, I see you. Commissioner Scott, you didn't have I think you went away. Did you still have a question?
No, I had a comment, but I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So we didn't have a motion or anything we needed to do, just some discussion, I think. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll double check that question tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure me and the mayor both have heard the same thing. So, but I'll ask him again just to make sure.
I got a sneaky suspicion McCamey might too.
That's fine. Never hurts to ask.
No, it don't. Okay, good discussion. Thank you all. We'll move now. I want to go to Dr. Parrott. I apologize for making him wait. He gave a good little summary of the school department and where they're at and the staff and everything they've been doing. Do you have any questions for Dr. Parrott at this time? Any comments for Dr. Parrott? I'll just say, Dr. Parrott, thank you. It was nice to ride through, and even though the conditions are what they are, I think the school system made the best they could make out of the situation, and I think you made it special for each child, senior, to go through and get their items. Middle school, same way, had all their items ready, and it was comforting to see the kids see their teachers and those relationships and the bonds that are there, kind of special. Of course, it's tough, but I think it went pretty well, and I appreciate you, your staff, and all the schools for what they did. Commissioner Fritz, go ahead, sir.
Dr. Parrott, at the budget committee meeting, you gave an update on the schools and the situation we're being associated with the social distancing and all that stuff, and startup of the schools and the problems you'd have to deal with, especially with busing and all that. You gave a pretty good talk on that. Could you give maybe another light up of where we are with that? Have you heard anything different? Because that's going to be pretty hard to try to deal with.
Yeah, I think part of that is, you know how kids are, even on the bus and things like that. I'm just not sure how we can have social distancing on a bus. And the other thing is, so do you put a student every other seat and you have to buy, instead of running 20 bus runs, you have to run 60. And I just don't see that as being something that, one thing that is we could afford, but the other thing being practical. I think the other thing is, even if you put 10 students in a classroom and you say, hey, don't get together, and you've got 5 and 6 year old or even 16-year-old in there, it's going to be hard to keep them apart. So those are all the things we're looking at in this plan. The other thing that really that maybe people has not thought about, when you look right now through this time, a lot of our people were at home, and so they had childcare. So in the fall, when we go back, when people don't have childcare and they depend on the schools really and truly to make sure their children are safe during the day as they're learning in school, we may have to do something with that. We may have to open up, and maybe even if we're not in school, to help with some childcare. So those are all things we're looking at in our new plan to start school next year. Again, we're hoping and praying that there's a cure or this virus goes away and we can somehow start regular and start on time. We will start school on time. We just don't know what it will be, online or in a virtual. Hope that answered your question, Mr. Fritz.
Yeah, I just wanted you to maybe share with with our audience that's on at home and maybe the other commissioners who are at the budget. Because I mean, you gave a pretty good talk about what you're facing and to try to get schools open and obstacles ahead of us. And I thought it'd be a good time to maybe to lighten everyone else.
Yes, yes, and thank you for that. Yeah, I think we can have a good plan. I just think all the unknowns out there right now are just kind of, up in the air. I think the biggest thing too is, our teachers have done an amazing job through this. And like Commissioner Wandell said, the bonds that they made between those students, it's hard when you can't see people. You can't be around them. They talked about the handshakes being gone and things like that. And a big thing we missed this spring was the sports. And I think that that's why we're really working on a plan, trying to get those back as safe as we can. And again, a lot of the unknown out there, but we're working with the State Department and with the local officials and our health providers that we use to make sure we're safe.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Dr. Parrott, I wanted to applaud you for the project with the Chromebooks. It was on the news recently where other counties are now looking at doing that because, little did they know that this whole virus thing was going to take place. But they had been speaking very highly of Anderson County schools and the fact that the children were still able to attend class virtually. So I applaud you on that. On a separate note, I wanted to suggest that something be done for Ms. Sherry Bryant. She was one that went to Facebook and reached out to literally thousands of people through Facebook by creating the adopting process of a senior where someone could go on there and adopt a senior and drop off a gift.
Yes.
The students were, they're still talking about it. It created such a buzz throughout the entire county. And I think that that requires some big recognition. That was a big deal. And
yes, it was, Teresa, and I do think, and we'll do something for Ms. Brown about that. My wife, she even got involved in that by doing a student from Oak Ridge and Anderson County and Clinton. So it is a pretty neat thing, and I think that's the thing about it is our community is so close-knit that everybody jumps in and helps and makes sure that our students get what they need. And I couldn't be more proud to live in Anderson County and work for Anderson County Schools.
Yeah, as a person who adopted a student, it was really cool. It was a rush for me to kind of go, I'm playing the place of, taking the place of like a Secret Santa. And the kids were they're still talking about it. That was really cool. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Any other questions, comments for Dr. Perry? Well, Dr. Perry, point of clarification, just for those who may not know, Sherry Bryan is my sister, and I'm very proud of her as well. So I just want to say that while I have a chance. But on the other side of the coin, I have to say there's two individuals that I knew that weren't very big proponents of the Chromebooks, and that was my son and my daughter. But they got used to it.
Yes, I do agree. Yeah, and listen, I can't thank County Commission enough for the foresight you all had to help us through that. And you're exactly right. Now the problem's going to be, we're on that rotation, and we ordered our Chromebooks for next year back in January and February, and we'll have ours ready when school starts. And a lot of these people that have tried to order theirs in the middle of this pandemic are out 6 to 8 weeks, and some out 3 to 4 months. So we'll have our new ones for the high school ready to go come August 1st. So thank you for that, Mr. Wandell.
Oh, no, thank you. And I appreciate all the commission. They've stepped up, and a lot of them educated me along the process, during the process on what the importance of is for those computers. So thank you. We'll let you get to it. We thank you for your service and your leadership. Have a good evening and stay safe.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Road Department, Road Superintendent Gary Long, are you there, sir? You on mute, Gary?
He was on earlier. I don't know that he's.
There you are.
I do not.
Oh, was that you, Jeff? Yeah, I don't hear him. Chuck, you're on the road committee, ain't you?
Yes.
I don't know if this has to come from Gary or not. A request to change the speed limit on Old Jacksboro Pike to 25 miles per hour.
That's correct. I don't think we had a meeting since everything's been done virtual, so we came straight to commission.
Okay.
And so I reckon we'll just present this as a motion to present changing the speed limit on Old Jacksboro Pike, or make the speed limit to 25 miles per hour. And I'll just make that motion.
Meredith has already stepped up.
Oh, okay.
No, thank you. Thank you for your explanation. Commissioner Meredith has made the motion to do just as you said. Commissioner Anderson seconded. Any further discussion on this item? Request to change speed limit on Old Jacksboro Pike to 25 miles an hour. Seeing none, let's go to the board. Motion passes 16 yes, 0 no's. Next will be the county mayor. Mayor Frank.
Thank you, Chairman Wandell. The first item on the agenda is a motion. I'm requesting a motion to authorize application for the Bureau of Justice Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. Anderson County's allocation is $58,008. Tyler Mays, Nathan Sweet, Robbie Holbrook, and Randy Walters, we all met on this. I think Tyler's actually going to do the actual application. We're all trying to balance what we ask for from this funding pot because FEMA is also allowing allocation, but this just gives us that authorization to go ahead with the grant application.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the explanation. Commissioner Smallridge with the motion to approve as presented, and then seconded by Commissioner Meade.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you both. Any questions on that? Seeing none, let's go to the board for a vote. Motion carries 16 yes, 0 no's. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next is a request, a motion to approve the sale price of the former Glen Alpine Convenience Center site per the agreement with the city of Clinton. The auction occurred on May 16th. So for the agenda, I did not have the ability to enter the sales price. The final bid was $73,700. The actual bid itself was $67,000, but then you had a $6,700 buyer's premium. Part of our agreement with the auctioneer was to receive 5% of that buyer's premium. That would put the county's total at $70,350. I did include in your agenda packet the former or the agreement with the city of Clinton. And then also, if you'll recall back in February, I did come to commission just to make sure we had dotted all I's and crossed all T's, and you did declare that property surplus at the February meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion by Commissioner Waddell to approve, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Fritz. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Any discussion on this item? Glen Alpine Convenience Center as presented by the mayor. Let's go to the board. Commissioner Jameson? Thank you, sir. 16 yes, 0 no's. Motion passes unanimously. Go ahead, Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, and before we leave that topic, just a quick note. Under that agreement, the city of Clinton will return to us $105,657. And then the proceeds from this sale at $70,350, that puts $176,007 back into the general fund. If you'll recall, the general fund did give that to solid waste in order to construct the site. That doesn't account for all of the proceeds. There's still a small amount outstanding that once we sell that other property, that'll come back. But that is going to go back into the general fund. Also, as part of the agreement, I'll just, if you don't mind me raising this as a topic, part of the agreement was if there was a difference in the sales price on the day of the auction, that the city of Clinton would make up the difference between that amount. And what I discussed with the city, and they raised the issue tonight at their council meeting, was perhaps getting more bang for the buck. Literally, if the county is looking at doing ADA work on the sidewalk and doing additional parking spaces for accessibility for ADA. Also, if we plan on doing the single entrance, there would need to be some work done, some meters moved. And the city authorized the city manager to work with the county and the county mayor on perhaps negotiating in kind and them doing some of that construction. And if you would be willing to authorize me to enter into those discussions, we can discuss that and I can come back to you with that on the table, if you'd be willing to entertain that as an idea.
Have a motion by Commissioner Jameson to proceed as presented by the mayor, to allow her to do that.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Meredith with the second. Any discussions on that request? Let's go to the board. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, Chris. I was looking away. Go ahead, Chris.
I think the mayor had an excellent suggestion and I certainly support her.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. I especially like the ADA thought process there. Appreciate that, Mayor. And any other questions before we go to the board? All right, let's go to the board. Motion passes unanimous, 16-0.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead,
Commissioner.
Mayor.
And then the last item on my agenda is per Tennessee Code Annotated 40-36-201, requesting the appointment of the following: Retisha Crawford Collier and Dan Cox. This is to the it's the board, I totally forgot, it's the probation and parole officer representatives. You have to actually reach out to the TDOT commissioner and ask for those appointments. So I included that appointment letter or that recommendation letter in your package, and I'm asking for those appointments.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion by Commissioner Yeager to approve as presented. Thank you, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion? Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion? Let's go to the board. Motion passes 16-0. And Mayor, the last thing, you're probably going to get to this, but we added it to the agenda, the EMS resolution.
Yes, I'm just requesting a motion to approve. It is National EMS Week. And so this is where we're thanking first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency nurses and physicians, and trained members of the public. This is a resolution by the mayor and county commission recognizing and thanking these individuals during EMS Appreciation Week.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve as presented. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Denenberg with the second. Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion on this resolution as presented by the mayor? Let's go to the board. Motion passes 16 yes, 0 no's. Anything else, Mayor?
No, just thank you for all the hard work you're doing and all the heavy lifting on all of these meetings and navigating all of that. And you're greatly appreciated in the community, and I personally appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I know you've done a lot. Everybody's stuck together, and I just wanted to note there's 4 votes that were 16-0. I don't think I've ever seen that happen with you.
I don't think so either.
We might need to go to the casino or something, double down.
Yes.
No, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the comments. Any, Commissioner Yeager, you have something for the mayor, sir?
No.
Okay, that went away quick. Anything for the mayor? Thanks again, Mayor. We appreciate all you're doing and keep up the good work. Okay, let's move on to Law Director, sir. You're up. Contract approvals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always my honor to be with you and members of the County Commission. Just a couple of items here. Under the contract approvals, you'll notice items number 10, 11, and 12 are the bond approvals that Robbie spoke to you about. One is a general obligation bond for $13,850,000. The other is a rural elementary bond, refinancing or refunding, $1,525,000. The last one, item 12, is the rural high school refunding of $5,725,500. Lawsuit updates. I think I've notified each of you via email about these 2 cases. The Michelle Johnson case, we have no liability in this case. It happened totally within the city limits of Oak Ridge. It was not one of our roads, and the highway department has no maintenance responsibilities, and we certainly have no responsibilities on the stormwater in the city of Oak Ridge. The second one is Philip Beats versus AC and Southern Health Partners. That's more of an inmate medical dental care issue against the Southern Health Partners and not Anderson County. Item C is the Jackson Law public hearing decision that we spoke about earlier today via email. I would request that we postpone this decision indefinitely. And the reason is simple. Our public pressure and the citizens in the area have put a lot of pressure on TDEC and TVA to reevaluate the need for Site J. TDEC has asked TVA to come back with some more data showing the need. One of the items during our public hearing that we heard from TDEC official Chuck Head was that he believed, in a direct question to him, that Bull Run had the necessary storage facilities for ash there to get them through till the closure in 2023. So the need is just not there to open Site J. Again, we do have legislation that will be pending for the next session of the General Assembly, and that will hopefully shore up some additional authority for county legislative bodies across the state for these Jackson Law hearings. But tonight, if you so desire, I'd like a motion to postpone our decision indefinitely. That does not affect our decision in any way. If we do find out in the future that TVA is bringing out of county fly ash, we still have this record that's quite extensive thanks to Commissioner Denenberg and Chairman Wandell. We've got an excellent record on this. We can use that not only for a Jackson Law decision and also if they do apply for rezoning. But tonight, that's what I need if you so desire. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It was me, it was on mute. I apologize. Go ahead, Commissioner Denenberg, with your motion.
Excuse me, I'm making the motion that we move forward with Jay's recommendation.
Have a motion seconded by Commissioner Mead.
Yes.
That's to defer indefinitely. Okay. Any other questions? Go to the board. Motion passes 16-0. Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir. The next item, and I'm not sure how many of our commissioners have been notified by the citizens in Oliver Springs, especially District 5 and District 6, Commissioner McCamey, Commissioner White, Commissioner Mead, Commissioner Denenberg, but there's been quite a discussion about a gentleman that's moved into adjacent property next to the Smith Road Airport. The Smith Road Airport has been in existence there for over 70 years. This gentleman just bought the property within the past year, and he doesn't like the airport there. He first wanted to put a guide wire up in the direct landing path of aircraft that would be landing there. He then decided that he was going to build a 110-foot tower there. I was contacted by Danny Phillips with codes enforcement about this. We have drafted and sent a letter to this individual telling him there's a permit process, that the tower would fall under our zoning resolution. It's a structure. We do have to have a site plan in place, and he has to get a building permit to do such a thing. And I would hopefully think that that building permit would be rejected. But anyway, I heard from the lawyer representing the citizens in that area. They filed a lawsuit against this individual that's trying to build this tower in the direct path of the aircraft trying to land there. An injunction was signed by our chancellor last Thursday that prohibits this individual from building this tower. And then later on, I received a phone call from this individual, and he told me that he does not plan on building this tower, that it was simply a ruse trying to get the ownership of the Oliver Springs Airport back to the negotiation table. It was quite an extensive ruse. We certainly didn't appreciate that. It got a lot of the citizens very upset. And I certainly understand that, but he did put a public notice in the Oak Ridge paper with his intent to build this tower. But right now, for all those citizens that are concerned about this, and I'm sure there's a lot of them, I can report that there is an injunction in place signed by our chancellor that would prohibit this individual. There is a lawsuit currently. And if that individual ever decided to try to go through with those plans, he would have to come to the county, present a site plan, and apply for a building permit, which I do not believe he would get. But if those commissioners in that area or any commissioner receives questions about this situation at the Smith Road Airport, please feel free to refer those individuals to me, and I'll be happy to answer any question they may have. Any questions about that issue? Okay, thank you. You still hear me, Commissioner? Good. The next issue I have is the Ronnie Lloyd refund. As you know, Mr. Lloyd has come before County Commission, requested a refund for some property taxes he paid on a piece of property that he had bought from the mayor. He got a tax notice for the year before he purchased it, But instead of coming to us and letting us try to take care of it, he paid those taxes. Now he's asking for a refund. I did some research with the Chancery Court and Clerk of Master, and it is a case that needs to be non-suited in order for us to give a refund. And that case was filed by Mr. Tino and not me. I'm unable to non-suit that case since it was filed by Mr. Tino. And I'll reach out to Regina and see if she has contact information for Mr. Tino, and we'll see if we can't get that taken care of for Mr. Lloyd. It's well past due, and we need to get that taken care of. But again, our hands are tied. It's not a case that was filed by my office. It was filed while Mr. Tino was working as the delinquent tax attorney. But anyway, nothing needs to happen by county commission. I'll take care of that and contact Ms. Copeland and see if she can help me with that. Last item I have is the reappraisal program that's currently ongoing. That program has been approved by the comptroller. Mr. Alley submitted his plans, and they were approved by the comptroller. I spoke with Mr. Alley today. We do have a few appeals. I think he said he may have about a week and a half of appeals on residential properties, but only about a few days of appeals on commercial properties. And that's well under what we normally have at this time. So hopefully that'll maintain that low rate of appeals, and we won't have to have the Board of Equalization in session for much longer than a few weeks. And that's very rare, but hats off to Mr. Alley and his staff for doing a fine job on that reappraisal. The last issue I wanted to speak to you about is real estate contracts, certainly related to what we experienced here with the withdrawal of the bid and how to fix that in the future. As I told you, we didn't have a contract in place with the gentleman that withdrew his bid, and in the future, I'd like to do that. But the way I'd like to address these issues on real estate purchases, if county commission so decides to go this route, is when we do open the bid and an individual is declared the high bidder on real estate, is to go ahead and sign a real estate contract with that individual, take their earnest money, but in that real estate contract, we'll have a contingency that says the whole transaction is subject to the approval of the county commission. Right now, before we can sign that real estate contract and bind that individual and take his earnest money, we have to have approval from county commission because the absolute transaction must be approved by county commission. So to secure this type of transaction in the future, I'd like to go ahead and draft the real estate contract for the high bidder at the time of the sale, take their earnest money, have them sign the purchase contract, but the purchase contract will have a provision in there that says that the transaction would be subject to the ultimate approval by county commission. That's the idea. Many of you have been concerned about it. I've been concerned about it. And hopefully this will take care of some of these potential situations in the future. I don't need a motion, but if anybody's got any thoughts about that plan, please let me know and we'll discuss it further. But that's one way to take care of this situation. At least if somebody does withdraw, we'll be able to retain that earnest money. Any questions on that potential procedure? Okay, sounds good. And we'll go ahead and I'll work with Catherine tomorrow. We'll get the real estate contract put together for Rusty Wallace and go ahead and take that earnest money on that transaction. And I share the concerns with Commissioner Isbell. I can write something in the contract if you so desire. I know that motion failed to respectfully request Rusty Wallace to put together, answer some questions about sales tax return on investment that Commissioner Isbell had. If you so desire, I'll write that provision in there. The actual transaction won't be subject to that, but it'll just be a respectful request for them to give us some data to help our constituents understand exactly what the return on investment will be, and that would be sales tax that's gathered and property tax gathered in the future to make up that difference. But that's totally up to this county commission.
Mr. Denenberg, you have a question?
Mr. Chairman, I do want to, there is something that I want to discuss, but it's not on this subject.
Okay. Let me see
Other
if
than to
anybody,
say that he-
go ahead.
other than to say that Jay is on the right.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Anyone else got something on this subject? And then I'll come back to Commissioner Denenberg on another item she has. Jay, I like what you're saying, and certainly don't want to make it too, you know what I mean. I don't.
Yes, sir.
I just, obviously, I think Rusty Wallace is in our community to generate business, and
No doubt.
you'll commit it to it. So, but I got faith and confidence in you, and I think Commissioner Isabel, he's done a great job, and the mayor has previously talking to him. So I hope it'll be a win-win all the way around, and we can start expanding and get some more tax dollars in. That'd be great.
Yeah, I
Anyone
certainly agree with those words. I agree with them 100%. And again, if we do put something in the contract, it's not contingent upon the a transaction being valid or anything like that. It would just be a respectful request for them to lay out some data for our commissioners and our citizens to know what's going to happen in the future and what would be the property tax revenues brought in. Again, it's tax exempt at this time. It's back in the hands of a private individual once the deed is signed, and what it looks like on the sales tax side. And I think those are the two main issues that Commissioner Isbell wanted to see addressed. But that's totally up to this body.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Anderson had some good ideas in one of his emails, and I see he's got a question. Go ahead, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How much earnest money will you be requiring in the contract? And also, did we ever get a copy of their environmental report that they paid for? Do we know if that's been completed yet?
I don't have a copy of it, sir. But I'll ask Catherine what she wants. I believe she had it in the bid. I believe it was 5,000, but I'm talking off the top of my head. I'm not sure if Catherine's still on the line. She may be able to clarify that, but it'll have to be whatever was in the request for proposals or request for bids that she sent out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. All right, seeing no more questions, I'll come back to you, Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
What I would like to bring up is the article that was finally published in the Knox News Sentinel yesterday, front page by Jamie Satterfield, and the 2-year investigation that she has done on TVA and TDEC. Based on what I have read, and I have no doubt that her investigation was thoroughly checked by the newspaper's attorneys to be factual. I really feel that we need, as a governing body, to look into the testing of the coal ash that is stored at Bull Run, so we will have an accurate reading, because obviously I don't know about you or anyone else who may have read that article yesterday, but I have no faith that we are being told the truth by either TVA or TDEC. So I am asking that we give serious consideration to doing whatever we have to do to obtain good samples and then to have them tested. And I would suggest that we have them tested by Dr. Van Gosh with Duke University. He seems to be very reliable, very knowledgeable, and there would not be a question of interference on anyone else's part. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Jay, do you have anything you want to say to that? You on mute, Jay?
Anyway, Commissioner Denenberg's got some good ideas. I doubt TVA will let us on their facility to do coal ash testing, but what we could do is and we've talked about this some in the past, is test Claxton Elementary, the ventilation system there. Any private residents there that would allow us on the property to test the HVAC systems of that nature. I agree with you about the individual you spoke about to do the testing is very highly regarded in the industry, but we do have companies in this area that can do that type testing, probably at a lesser cost. But if you don't mind, if you want to refer that issue to the Purchasing Commission, we can bring it up and do vet that issue and talk about it in depth.
All right, then I'll make a motion that it be moved to the, to purchasing and for further discussion and voting.
Commissioner Denneberg, that's a good idea. Go ahead and hit your motion button, so it's document. Thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Fritz, did you have something you want to say, sir? No? Okay. Okay. Any other discussion on this item?
I did have something, Commissioner Wandell or Chairman Wandell.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't see. I appreciate you speaking up. Go ahead.
I did want to let you know that when I read the article, I did reach out to John LaCroix at Tech, who is their government affairs communication person, and I did ask, for some clarification. And my understanding from the article that was Kingston. But I wanted to know some information about what that means for Bull Run, and would they be willing to come and speak with commission and talk about some of these issues. So I just wanted to make you aware that he is taking that up the chain and seeing if he can bring those folks to commission. We could work it at the operations meeting or whatever, work with them. But I do think we need to have a discussion about that article and what's going on. So,
thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. Commissioner Denneberg, did you have something else?
Yes, I did. Yes, of course, the information was based on Kingston, but based on the fact that they were purposely altering results so that it would coincide with what they wanted it to read and what they wanted to move forward with, which was the cleanup and as quickly and as cheaply as they could. I just cannot, for the life of me, think that they would be all of a sudden willing to be open and honest about anything to do with testing with Bull Run. And my faith in what Chuck has to say, especially when he had absolutely admitted to doing it. So I would like to see them. I would like to see them in front of the Intergovernmental Committee, operations too, as far as that goes. But I really would prefer that any testing, if we do go that route, is done offsite, where I have no question or no reserve about TVA and or TDEC being able to in any way influence what may be going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Denneberg. I haven't had a chance to read the article. I don't get the paper from the Sentinel any longer, but I appreciate you sending a photocopy of it. I'll get to it and read it and try to learn and educate myself more about it. But we have a motion on the floor to send this request for testing of to the Purchasing Committee, I believe it was. Is that correct?
That's correct. We'll have to put out an RFP on it.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Fritz. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's go to the board. Motion passes 16 yes, 0 no's. Thank you, Commissioner Denneberg, for bringing this to our attention. Appreciate it. Okay, next is committee reports. Operations Committee report by Chairman Isabel. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We only had one action item. It was the East Wolf Valley Convenience Center. Motion was made by Commissioner Wandell to replace recycling container, the normal garbage container. In addition, notify with signage where to take the recyclables as a secondary measure at this time. Seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Motion passed forward to full commission for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Isabel, seconded by Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Smallridge, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I was curious and I drove down, I went by, I went through the convenience center there. It's a very tight mode, to get through that center, it's a very tight maneuver. I just wanted to comment. I'm not sure everyone would want to even enter that convenience center. It's so hard to get through there. And I was just a little surprised at how tight it was. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Smallridge, for driving over there. I know a few other commissioners have driven by there, Commissioner Scott and such, but yes, it's very tight. And you come by on a Saturday morning, you'll see it's tight all the way out to Clinton Highway, unfortunately. Commissioner Fritz, go ahead, sir. You on mute, Commissioner Fritz?
Sorry, but as you know, when you go down on busy times, as you said, they'll be lined up all the way down Clinton Highway, just trying to wait to get in there. And I do know, with the different signage and things of that nature about putting up where to take the recyclables. Unfortunately, when the people will not go to different places or just that other to take their recyclables, we're going to have a damage in recyclables because of this. I mean, they'll just go ahead and throw the recyclables in the garbage and go on. This is going to be a temporary fix because we got to do something, right now for people to put their stuff, because you're going to see more and more dumpage in District 1 because you're seeing it right now. Regardless of where you go, back roads, everything like that, you're seeing garbage being piled on the side of the roads because people are not going to the dump. I mean, they can't get in there, so they're just throwing it outside of the road. And by adding an extra bin, hopefully we can prevent that. But I do see us having a damage in the amount of recyclables for the county because people will not go to or drive to different locations to take the recyclables. And so I know this is a temporary fix. And this is something that we as a county have got to find a new location or a bigger location and do something for the citizens of District 1 to provide a better and more usable and more usable-friendly facility for these folks out there. Because this is a very large district. A lot of people drive long distances for this one facility. I mean, again, this is a temporary fix, but we still need to do something and keep this on a hot burner to look at as soon as possible.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. You're right. We obviously got to do something because we keep, several times we shut down. We can't take any trash. So, but it was discussed very good in operations. And I do know, Commissioner Fritz, to your request originally, that the Solid Waste Committee is actively looking for property. They say anywhere from 2 to 3 acres is what they're looking for, anywhere around the same location where we're at now or in that vicinity, close to Clinton Highway as possible. If anyone has that type of acreage, 2 or 3 acres, they'd be willing to talk to the county about either selling or leasing. I think the Solid Waste Committee would be interested in talking to you, the mayor, or contact Commissioner Fritz or myself. We'd love to talk to you so we can get a new convenience center established and get the recyclables back in. Another thing that was said, Commissioner Fritz, is during the meeting that the recyclables are actually costing us more money at this time. But I'll let Commissioner McCamey talk to that if anybody's got any questions. But any other questions on this motion? If not, let's go to the board. Yes is to remove the recyclable and replace it with a trash dumpster so we can keep the facility open and everybody can get through there. Motion passes 16-0. Anything else, Chairman Isabel?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the Operations Committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the fastest one in a while, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on. Old business. Any old business, commissioners? Commissioner Fritz, sir. I think you may be on mute.
Keep forgetting to turn it on. As of today, hopefully by the time everybody gets out tomorrow, all the parks and all the locations throughout the county should be open. That's when we met at our Conservation Board meeting. The Conservation Board voted to open everything up officially as of today. So that way everything will be ready to go by the holiday weekend coming up. And so we did vote to not increase put the new rates into effect until June 1st. So the old rates are still in effect until throughout the month of May. But and so the new rates that we passed won't go in effect till June 1. But as of right now, May 18th, everything in the county is open. So just go enjoy and be safe and have fun.
Commissioner Fritz, that's excellent news. And when you say everything, it's the parks and picnic areas and playgrounds, everything.
That's correct.
Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, any other old business?
Chairman Wandell, just real quickly.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Old business, I just wanted to report for you all. Finance Committee and County Commission voted to refund some outstanding debt. Part of that debt went back to the jail. Some was County Rural Elementary School Fund debt. Some was Rural High School Fund. And I just wanted to report to you all that it was a good decision to go ahead and go through with that. And the county was able to save $985,000 and some change in the county's general debt service fund over the next 9 years. $329,343 in the Rural Elementary School Fund, and $1,208,193 in the county's Rural High School Fund over the next 11 years. So the total savings to the county was $2,522,550.50. So that's a big win. And I'd like to thank Dr. Parrott as well, his leadership on Finance Committee and driving that through as well. So well done, Commission. And we came in under 2% and performed a little bit better than we thought we would.
That's great news. Thank you for sharing that. That's the kind of good news you like to hear.
Yes.
Thank you. Great job to everyone involved. Okay. Any other comments for the mayor on that? Commissioner White, I thought I saw your button. Maybe you're leaving already. Okay. What's that?
Commissioner White, that's late.
Okay, no problem. Safe travels. New business. Any new business? Anybody got anything? Seeing no new business, no business before us, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, Brian, and everyone involved, Kim, all of you, Annette, for all your work in keeping this thing going. Good job, commissioners. You have a good evening and stay safe.